See, look at Jericho. He's giving the young guys rub. How old is Isaiah Cassidy? They said, what, 23 years old? He's given young guys like Jungle Boy and Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy some of that veteran rub. And then he's going to give some to Luther, who's a hell of a lot older than 23 years old. Luther hasn't been 23 years old probably in about 53 years. But he's going to give him some of that rub next week, too. This guy should have been a masseuse with all the rubs that he's given. Man, little Solomonster there. He got into Tony Khan's supply. I apologize. Yeah, Tony just left it out. I mean, he just left it laying there, so what did you expect me to do? Come on. Man, this guy's got the moves. You know, on a day, we should lower the sound-off flag here at half-mast, because on a day where Daryl Hall and John Oates have gone to war, and I can't even say they've gone to war. Daryl Hall has taken out a restraining order on John Oates. We don't have much more in the way of information about this. I cannot tell you how devastating this is to me. This has single-handedly ruined my Thanksgiving. When I read that news earlier, I was just devastated. Hopefully they can work things out. Hopefully they can get back on the same page here. Man, I grew up listening to Hall and Oates. They're my favorite duo of all time. I don't want to hear that they have problems. I need them to be together. I went to go to Madison Square Garden to see them a few years ago. Come on, man. Thanksgiving. Well, tonight we had the start of the Continental Classic here on AEW Dynamite. This is, of course, Tony Khan's answer to the G1 Climax. And we now know the names of the 12 men who are in the tournament. They are divided into two groups. We have the blue group, not Blue Man group. We have the blue group and the gold group. And tonight it was all about the gold group. But let's start with the blue group, because in the blue group, we have the reigning Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong Openweight Champion Eddie Kingston. Why is it important to point out that Eddie Kingston is in this tournament? Because at Full Gear, Eddie Kingston said that he would be taking his Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title and his New Japan Strong Openweight title and defending them both in the tournament. And the way that he described it is he said he would defend it in every match that he would have in this tournament. Now, it's round robin style, so depending on what block you're in or, group, you will wrestle every single person in your group one time. There's going to be a lot of matches in this tournament. Now, Tony Khan kind of walked that back a little bit earlier on. They had a little show on YouTube. Him and Tony Schiavone were sitting at a table. They had the New Japan Strong Openweight title. They had the Ring of Honor World title. And they had the brand new Continental title, which was covered. And they never did show us what the new belt looks like. I guess they're holding off. They're going to show us at some point on television. But Tony Khan clarified, because it was very confusing. Like, is he defending the championships in every single match? And so what happens if Eddie Kingston loses in his very first match, let's say to, Brody King? Does that make Brody King the new Ring of Honor World Champion and New Japan Strong Openweight Champion? And you just play hot potato with the belts the entire tournament? So Tony Khan clarified earlier today. He said that Kingston's titles will not be on the line in every single match. So I guess if Kingston doesn't advance to the finals, then I presume his two championships would be held up. They would be vacated. And then in the finals of the tournament, it would go to the winner along with the new Continental title. And the way that they described it, so basically it would be one unified title represented by 3 championship belts. So you'll have 3 belts, but they will represent one champion, and that will be the Continental champion. That's my understanding of how this is going to work. Or a modern American Triple Crown winner is the way they described it on television. Because Tony Khan loves his, Japanese wrestling and Japanese wrestling history, and they did this in All Japan many years ago, the Triple Crown. So he wants to do a Triple Crown here in AEW. Still not clear to me what that means for the future of the Ring of Honor World title, as far as the ROH title lineage, as far as, is the new Continental Champion going to be the de facto top champion on Ring of Honor? I mean, is that what that means? We don't know. We haven't gotten total clarity on that. It would strike me that that would be the case, but we don't know. This all feels very unnecessary to me. When I talked about the Continental Classic previously, I said, this is before they announced what was going to be on the line. And I said, what would make the most sense in this tournament is to have the winner. Now, you want to give them a plaque, you want to give them a trophy, you want to give them a customary title belt like they did for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, that's fine. But the winner of this tournament should be in line for a shot at the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, because Tony Khan even said when the announcement was first made, and Bryan Danielson, Pirate Danielson with his eye patch, was standing right next to him. I guess it was a bandage, not an eye patch. But he said 12 of the top names in AEW would be in this tournament. And so they should be fighting for a shot at the World Championship. And that would have made things a hell of a lot easier. So instead, they took this in a totally different direction. And there are certain things and certain aspects here that are still not entirely clear to me. So we'll have to wait and see what they announce. I think that would have been the right way to go. Eddie Kingston, though, is in the blue group. Here's who else is in the blue group. Bryan Danielson is in the blue group. Andrade El Idolo, Claudio Castagnoli, so 2 members of the Blackpool Combat Club, are in the same group. Daniel Garcia is in there as well. And Brody King representing the House of Black. So we have House of Black and Blackpool Combat Club representation in the blue group. And so we know Daniel Garcia is going to be wrestling both Bryan Danielson and Claudio in this group. And so it makes me wonder, given the story they started to tell with him, it looks like, okay, maybe he's going to break away again from the sports entertainment stuff. He's going to embrace his inner pro wrestler. Is this going to end with him possibly joining the Blackpool Combat Club? When he wrestles Claudio, for example, is there going to be a mutual respect there when that's over? Could that be his story arc coming out of this tournament where, he doesn't win, but it's finally what allows him to break away from what he's been doing, and maybe he ends up joining the BCC. I could see that happening. That's the blue group. Now let's talk about the gold group. The gold group in this tournament, Mark Briscoe, Jon Moxley, Jay Lethal, SHOOSH, Switchblade Jay White, and Swerve Strickland. Conspicuous by their absence from this list, no Kenny Omega in this tournament. No Konosuke Takeshita in this. In fact, no member of the Don Callis family at all in this tournament. No Malachi Black, which was surprising that he wouldn't be one of the 12 names in this tournament. Andrade is in there, but Malachi Black is not, because Malachi and Andrade have had issues before, but it's almost as if the black mass to Bryan Danielson has been completely forgotten about. It would have made a lot of sense for him to be in the same block, or at least be in the tournament, and maybe build to Bryan Danielson and Malachi Black, whether it's the finals, whether it's just a match in their block. And Malachi is not even part of the group. What that tells me, the fact they put Brody King in there and not Malachi, is that they might want Brody King to eat a lot of pins. And so if Brody King is going to be taking a lot of losses in this tournament, they might be doing that to protect Malachi and say, okay, we don't want to beat him all these different times. Or if he's not going to win the tournament, we don't want him to be in there. And so we'll put Brody King in there instead. It's disappointing. Now, some of the names that are missing, and I know, Mega's going to be wrestling for the tag team title soon, and you can explain that one away, but there are other names that should have been in this tournament that are not. But I don't hate the lineup, because if you look at the lineup, if you look at the names that are in this tournament, it's a stacked lineup. I mean, it is a loaded lineup of talent in this tournament, even with the names that are missing from there. Now, by my count, as I look at these lists, and I'm counting them out here, I would say half the field, right? You got 12 guys in this tournament. I would say realistically, you're looking at about half the field as realistic potential winners of this tournament, realistic Triple Crown champions at the end of this tournament. And you go down this list, again, Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson was the first name announced. Bryan Danielson is arguably the biggest name in the entire tournament. You would think, well, it's his for the taking. Not so fast. I don't necessarily think he's the favorite to win. He's one of the favorites, but not necessarily my pick, who I think is going to win the entire thing, but he's got to be on the list, right? So you put Bryan Danielson on there. Andrade, I don't see Andrade winning this tournament. So you cross him off. Claudio's not winning. Daniel Garcia is an interesting one. Now, Daniel Garcia, like I said, there could be a whole other story here where maybe, him potentially joining the Blackpool Combat Club, or at least breaking away from Parker and Menard. But Daniel Garcia is someone who they had started pushing in that direction well over a year ago, when it looked like he was going to leave the Jericho Appreciation Society, and it turned out to be a big swerve, and he just went right back to doing what he was doing. But up until that point, he was starting to build a little bit of momentum. Now, where he would have gone, I don't know. I don't know how far he would have gotten if he would have broken away then as a babyface. He would not be the AEW World Champion. But where would he be in the pecking order of AEW? Would he be in a worse position? Would he be in a better position? It's possible he would be in a worse position. They have a lot of talent, in case you couldn't tell. They have a surplus of talent and top names in this company. Daniel Garcia, talented as he is not a top name. Could this be a way to get him there? Could this be a way where he pulls out the win? He's the dark horse. He pulls out the win at the end, and they use this tournament as a way to rehab him and try to elevate him to that next level. Yes, that is possible. So I probably would stick him on the list of potential winners. I would include him on that list. Brody King is not winning this tournament. You get into the gold group, Mark Briscoe is not winning this tournament. Jay Lethal is not winning this tournament. Jay Lethal is not winning shit in AEW. That much is clear just based on his booking. So Jay Lethal's not winning. John Moxley has to be on the list. Danielson's on that list, so is John Moxley. John Moxley could win the entire thing. Roosh, not winning this tournament. Jay White, possibly yes. I would put Jay White on that list as well. And then we get to Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland, who pulled out a win in the most violent match in AEW history. One of the most violent fucking matches that I've seen in my entire life at Full Gear. That was a sick, violent, disturbing match that we had on that pay-per-view the other night. And he pulled out the win 2 in a row now. That's back-to-back pay-per-view wins over Hangman Page, a former AEW World Champion. What did I say coming out of that match? When he picked up that win at Full Gear, and I made the comment, I said, the two most important words when it comes to Swerve Strickland, more important even than the win that he got over the weekend. What next? What next? Where do you go from here? Because it's kind of like Austin Theory pinning John Cena at WrestleMania. That sounds great, right? He pins the greatest of all time, as they love to call him, a former 16-time world champion. What next? We saw what was next for Austin Theory. The answer was not much. So the key is always in the follow-up. It's nice that they put him over 2 in a row. I'm impressed that Tony Khan had the guts to do that. But now what are you going to do with him? What is the plan? Because MJF, he's got Samoa Joe. He's got Wardlow breathing down his neck, the Devil. He's got all kinds of people gunning for him, right? He's already got his next probably 3 to 6 months worth of feuds all mapped out, it would seem like to me. Maybe not 6, but he's all accounted for right now as far as what he's doing. So what are you going to do with Swerve Strickland? He has to rocket to the top of the list of favorites to win this tournament. You have to build on that momentum. You have to piggyback on that momentum in some way. If he's in the tournament, he has to at least go to the finals. He has to rack up enough points, go to World's End, and even if he doesn't win, he should be in the finals. But I would also say this. I would say there's an argument against him winning. Because when I talk about with Swerve and I say, what's next? What's next for him, right? Honestly, they should be building him for the AEW World Heavyweight title. And it's not going to be at World's End. It could be at Revolution. If not Revolution, maybe by Double or Nothing. But he needs to be in that mix. You need to get him there. If he wins this tournament, he becomes the Triple Crown winner, right? Whatever the hell that means. So he wins the Ring of Honor World title, whoop-de-doo. He wins the New Japan Strong Openweight title, whoop-de-doo. He wins the Continental title, who cares? Now he's got the Triple Crown. If anything, that takes him away from challenging for the AEW World title. I would much rather be preparing him for that than have him running around the world in different promotions defending this title, because this is the best that you have for him. So there's an argument on both sides to be made that if he wins, it actually works against him. It's like a consolation prize, and he's better than that. So if he's not in their world title plans anytime in the near future, then fine. There's no harm in having him win the Triple Crown. He can add that to his resume. But I really think that there should be very serious consideration to him being in the mix in the early part of 2024. This man is a future AEW World Champion in this company. Moxley and Eddie Kingston is another one that I wrote down here as far as potential finals in this tournament. If Eddie Kingston is putting both of his belts on the line, it'd be pretty lame if he didn't make it to the finals. Now, I don't see Eddie winning the entire thing, so I think he's losing those belts no matter what. But him and Jon Moxley have history together. He and Jon Moxley are, they're good friends. And for a while there, you remember, Eddie was trying to talk Moxley out of withdrawing and bowing out of the Blackpool Combat Club and no longer associating himself with Claudio. And that storyline pretty much got dropped. It's on the back burner. They could revisit that, right? You put Moxley and Kingston in the finals. The only thing I don't like about that is I don't think Eddie is winning, which means Moxley is winning. And honestly, I don't want to see Moxley win. Why do we need Jon Moxley to win the Continental Classic? But if you think about it, one of the reasons that they're doing this, they want a champion who can defend in other promotions, who can go around the world, who could go to Japan and defend this title. Eddie has been to Japan. Eddie Kingston was in the G1 this year. Jon Moxley is going to be at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom. He's going to be wrestling Will Ospreay and David Finlay. Jon Moxley is all over the place. Right? He's doing independent shows. He's everywhere. So a Moxley-Kingston final is very possible because if you want a traveling champion, well, these two guys right here are probably the closest thing. I mean, these two guys right here are probably the ones who are going to give, the best shot at going around and defending this in other promotions. I just don't have the appetite to see Jon Moxley go over and win the entire tournament because I just don't see what's gained by doing that. I think Danielson against Swerve is the play for the main event. I think that that's the answer as far as the finals. I wouldn't mind either one winning, but it should be Swerve. If you're going to do Danielson and Swerve in the final, and we saw that match, I believe, on Dynamite a number of months ago. I think Danielson beat him. But I think that's the finals. I would have Swerve going over, especially if he's not going to be in the mix for the world title in the near term. But I think Tony Khan made a big mistake tonight. We had our first 3 matches in the tournament, and we'll go through what all of them were as far as how they worked out. But we had Swerve Strickland wrestling Jay Lethal. We had Jay White wrestling SHOOSH. And in the main event on this show, we had Jon Moxley going one-on-one with Mark Briscoe for the very first time. And he went the predictable route. Tony Khan went the safe route on this show. I just read you all 3 matches. You could tell me right now, even if you didn't see this show, who won all 3 matches. And you would be right. And if you watch that main event, the people really wanted to see Mark Briscoe go over and beat Jon Moxley in that match. That was the wrong call to make, having Moxley beat Briscoe. I would have had Mark Briscoe go over in that main event. It's not a single elimination tournament. Moxley is safe. If Moxley doesn't win 3 points in the match tonight, it's not like he can't rack up points and still get to the finals if that's where they want him to be. That's the beauty of doing a round robin tournament instead of single elimination. One and done. That's not what this is. Briscoe should have gone over because that would have given this tournament a little bit more of an air of unpredictability. Like, oh, okay. They didn't go with the safe bet in the main event. They actually went with the other guy. All right, and it's night 1. So it sets the tone, I think, for the rest of the tournament. He had an opportunity to do that in the main event on this show by giving us an upset win on night 1. He didn't do that. He played it safe. I wouldn't have done that. But all 3 matches were good. Main event being, I think, the best of the bunch. And I like Dynamite overall. I thought it was a solid effort coming out of Full Gear. Not like the best episode of Dynamite of the year or anything like that, but I thought it was a good show that has already set the main event for World's End. This is the second time in a row, at least the second, maybe third, pay-per-view in a row where they have told you well in advance, over a month in advance, what your main event is going to be, which I like. I like that. I hope that becomes a pattern. I hope we see more of that. And that main event was set tonight. It's going to be MJF and Samoa Joe. There was a Toni Storm segment that I loved, Christian Cage promo. We'll talk about it all. This is your AEW Dynamite review for Thanksgiving Eve. It is November 22nd, 2023. I am the Solomonster. That clip you saw, by the way, that I played at the very top is one of several that I will be playing. I'll intersperse them here throughout the stream. These little classic Sound Off clips here from YouTube because we're celebrating 16 years of the Sound Off all month long. So tonight we get to hang out. You guys can celebrate with me, and we'll play some more clips as we go along. And I also want to mention that today would have been my mom's 64th birthday. And so I just wanted to say happy birthday, Mom. Like and subscribe. 400 likes is the goal for Be the Booker tonight. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on screen. You get screen time. And I will be reading them a little bit later on. There's a bunch of new ones in the description. Lady Fire Panda, shout out for the 20 gifted memberships before I went live tonight. Very much appreciated. Fire Panda on fire. It's right in the name. The word fire is in the name. It makes sense. All right, let's get into this because Dynamite opened with the first match, match number 1 in the Continental Classic with 2 members of the Gold League, with Swerve Strickland against Jay Lethal. They had cans of Ric Flair's Woo Energy on a desk in front of the announcers. I guess tonight was the first official night of promoting his mushroom-filled energy drink. I'm sitting next to Cody Rhodes, man. Yeet, yeet. Silver Tower dropping a $44 super chat here early in the stream. On his commute home, he says, yeet. Yeet indeed. Man, oh man. Christian Cage. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Hey, Silver Tower, thank you, man. Safe travels home if you're on the road. I have to be on the road, as many of you I'm sure will be. Be on the road tomorrow for Thanksgiving. Not looking forward to that. The busiest travel day of the year. But yes, they had Ric Flair's drink was on display. I still can't get over cordyceps being in the drink. When I ran down the list of ingredients, what was it, 3 weeks ago or whatever it was on the podcast, and I'm reading them out loud, and I said, cordyceps. Caught my eye. I don't want to have anything to do with any cordyceps. Now, here are the rules. We got to go over the rules here of the Continental Classic. Every match has a 20-minute time limit. You get 3 points for a win. You get 1 point for a draw. You get no points if you lose. And here's the part about it that I like. Everyone is banned from ringside. So there's no outside interference. There's no unnecessary distractions. It's nice, right? Kind of nice, especially when you see Jay Lethal out there here in this opening match. We all know how his matches usually go. Jay Lethal against Swerve. Not even 1 week removed from the most violent match in AEW history. And Swerve was already back in the ring. Just had some tape, a little bit of tape on his right shoulder. He may have had a black eye. I couldn't tell. I didn't get a good look at his face, but his shoulder was taped up, and otherwise, he was good to go. He was good to go. Now, the crowd reaction to Swerve, perhaps not unsurprising, was very interesting. Because he came out, he got a big babyface reaction. And it tickles me when I see that, because it kind of reminds me of WrestleMania back in 2002, when Hulk Hogan came back to the company, the NWO, right, joined WWE. And we have Rock and Hogan. And Rock and Hogan is set for WrestleMania 18. And what does Hulk Hogan try to do? He tries to murder The Rock. They put The Rock in an ambulance. He gets in a Mack truck. And he slams into the ambulance. Attempted vehicular homicide. He tried to kill The Rock. And yet Hogan walks into the Sky Dome in Toronto and is cheered like a hero. They boo The Rock and they cheer Hulk Hogan. People didn't care. Here, we have a man who broke into another man's home and threatened his family, threatened his wife and young son. And yet he comes out here and it's like it's all forgotten about. It's all water under the bridge because he won, right? He's a winner. He's not a loser. So it's okay. But I just thought that was kind of funny. How quickly we forget. So he comes out, he gets a big babyface reaction. And they were solidly behind him throughout the match. You know, Lethal hit a shoulder breaker to that taped up shoulder before a commercial break. Strickland cut off Lethal in the corner with a huge superplex, followed by a rolling flatliner and a brainbuster for 2. Lethal then countered a figure 4 leg lock into an inside cradle before a reverse suplex. And then he hit a top rope elbow drop, got a near fall of his own out of it. Strickland countered the Lethal injection and applied a stretch muffler, but Lethal managed
Samoa BRO.
his way out of it. Nick Grosso dropping a Samoa BRO on me here on Thanksgiving Eve. See, I know a lot of people are traveling. A lot of people are already celebrating with their family. We don't have a full house here, but the house we have is loud, man. You guys are making a lot of noise. I like it. I like the noise. I appreciate you hanging out with me here on a holiday. So he applies a stretch muffler. Lethal, though, got out of it into a crossface. Lethal wanted the lethal injection again, but Strickland drop kicked the leg out, hit the house call, and then the Swerve stomp for the win. The first 3 points of this tournament go to Swerve Strickland. And it was nice to have a rare Jay Lethal match without all the outside interference and all the shenanigans that we usually get with Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett and Sanjay Dutt. I would say Satnam Singh, but he doesn't do much. He just kind of stands there. So I can't really blame the guy. But without all the BS that we usually get, we got a straight wrestling match here, one-on-one. It was nice for a change. Unfortunately, Swerve did not come out with Prince Nana. So you got to take the bad with the good. Cuts both ways. But I thought it was a solid opener. It's too bad that Lethal has been involved with such goofy stuff on television because it's hard to take him seriously. in a tournament like this. We know how talented he is. And he's a former Ring of Honor world champion and television champion, and he's been around forever, very well respected. But hard to take him seriously as somebody that you can honestly believe has a chance of going to the finals, or even, frankly, of racking up that many points in this tournament. I don't want to say he's going to go totally winless, but he might go totally winless in this tournament. Which goes back to what I said before when Tony Khan initially said that it would be 12 of the top AEW stars. 12 of the top names on the AEW roster. The fact is, Jay Lethal does not fit that criteria. He is not one of the top 12 stars in AEW. So when you see names like that in there, you know why they're there. They're there to take the loss. But there are some names that were left out of this that really should have been in. That's the only thing that's disappointing about an otherwise very impressive lineup of talent in this tournament. But it was a solid opener. Obviously, the right guy went over. Now, Renee was backstage with Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata, the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. Cassidy asked for this time to make a special announcement, but he was immediately interrupted by Wheeler Yuta, who said that it took 17 orange punches and an exposed turnbuckle to beat Jon Moxley. He said it makes him sick that Shibata still has the ROH Pure title. He told Shibata to watch his Pure Rules match on Ring of Honor this week, and then he walked off. And Cassidy said that he still had an announcement to make, but Renee told him that we're out of time. Sorry. Then we had the AEW World Champion, MJF, coming out along with Adam Cole. We had their remixed music, and so they each came out from either side of the stage. Cole was on his crutches like he was at Full Gear. MJF had a cane like Vince McMahon did in Saudi Arabia, only he didn't have the shitty mustache. So they get in the ring, and Cole takes a seat in the ring. And MJF said that after he just beat Jay White on one leg, he learned in those 30 minutes that Jay White is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. But, he said, nobody is on the level of the devil. He's the youngest and longest reigning champion of all time. He said that he knows he can be a little humble, but he thinks that he earned the right to toot his own horn tonight. And he told us that we are looking at the greatest AEW world champion of all time. He did his catchphrase. He said, none of this is possible without his brochacho for life. That led into story time with Adam Cole. He said it was great to be back here in Chicago and to still be the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion along with MJF. With a little help, he said, from Samoa Joe. But with the good news comes the bad news. He said his ankle is really messed up and he's still going to be out for a very long time. He's still a long ways off from walking again, let alone getting back in the wrestling ring. But he vowed to come back at 100% and be the best Adam Cole that he has ever been. But he was really worried about MJF. He said it feels like the entire world is gunning for him with Wardlow and Samoa Joe and now the Devil and his goons. MJF cut him off and said that he is going to find the man behind the mask, behind the devil mask. And he said the hell that he sends him to is going to feel like heaven. And at that moment, the lights went out in the arena and they played a quick clip of the devil with him laughing. And of course, his voice was dubbed. But they play a clip of him laughing. And yes, I agree. There were people saying it sounded like Jack Perry. I agree. If you listen to it, it does kind of sound like Jack Perry. But I want to point something else out. Because I rewound it when I saw some people mentioning Jack Perry, so I rewound it to listen to the devil, but I noticed something else. And it could be nothing. It could be nothing. But if you go back and watch, right before the lights went out, you can see that Adam Cole had his hand in his pocket, or went to put his hand in his pocket, right? He's sitting down. And the lights go out. And the very brief clip of the devil plays, and he's laughing. And when they cut back to the ring live, Cole is sitting there, and his right hand is in his pocket. And then we hear Samoa Joe's music, and Samoa Joe comes out to come to the ring. Now, why would his hand have been in his pocket like that? It was only his right hand. almost as if he was putting his hand in his pocket, maybe to push a button, to play a video up on the screen. We know how easy it is to push a button and get videos up on the screen. They do it every week with Cole via Zoom, right? Oh, let me dial Adam Cole. Oh, boom, there he is on screen. I try to connect my AirPods sometimes via Wi-Fi to my laptop, and I could be here for 25 minutes trying to get it to work. They push one button and boom, Adam Cole is on screen. So very interesting, though, that he had his hand in his pocket at the exact moment that that video played. And if you go back and watch it, you could see it. Again, it could mean nothing or it could be something. I guess we'll see. So they cut back to the ring, like I said, and they play Samoa Joe's Pocket Fisherman. That's also very possible. That's also very possible. It could just be he was playing the old game of Pocket Fisherman, right? So a little bit of pocket pool. Hey, we've all been there. Even during these streams, you never know, right? You only see me from the shoulders up. You don't know you don't even know if I'm wearing pants right now. It's Thanksgiving. I could be in my turkey suit. You have no idea. Samoa Joe makes his way, this just went to a very dark place. Samoa Joe made his way down to the ring, and he said it was time for celebration. He said 2 massive victories this weekend for MJF, despite the fact that his less adequate friend, looking at Cole, couldn't defend him. Yet he still stands here as the AEW World Champion. But earlier that night, he points out that MJF went out with Joe and successfully defended those Ring of Honor tag team titles for the simple price of giving him his championship rematch. And so he has come to Chicago to ensure that honorable men honor their deals. Spoken like a true Ring of Honor former television champion. So MJF tells him, I thought long and hard about their deal, and he's come up with a very mature response to Samoa Joe. Blow me. Now, they censored this. They actually censored a few things during this promo, so I don't know if this show's gone PG or not, but you read the guy's lips. He clearly told Joe to blow him, and this pissed off Samoa Joe, who had no interest in blowing this man, so he grabs him, right? Grabs MJF. And Adam Cole is begging Joe to take his hands off him. Joe, just let him go, right? And he addresses MJF. And Cole says, you can't do this. What you just said, what you just did, that's something the old Max would do. You can't do that. He says the new Max, the new MJF, is a man of his word. He said he's had wars with Samoa Joe, Cole has, and they've been the toughest fights of his life. That's why he is who he is. But that's also why MJF is who he is. Because when MJF says something is going to happen, it happens. He says, you promised this man a championship shot, so Max, be a man of your word. And the fans chanted, he's our scumbag. MJF said that, you know what? You wouldn't be the first Ring of Honor legend that I've beaten in Chicago. Twice. And said, how about MJF against Samoa Joe right here, right now, in Chicago? And of course, all the fans in Chicago wanted to see that. Right? 3 cheers for that. Samoa Joe says, absolutely not. He said, MJF is going to get on the internet tomorrow and he's going to bitch and he's going to moan about how he wasn't 100% and he was still hurt. And it's not fair. He says, no, Max. I want the best version of you. I want the fully healed Max. So I say, by World's End, you should be nice and chipper to get back in the ring and defend that title. So MJF wanted to clarify this. He wanted to clarify that Samoa Joe wanted to wrestle him on December 30th at World's End at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, the most magical place on earth. And the fans booed. The fans in Chicago did not want to see this match at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. And MJF told them, go ahead and boo. He doesn't give a shit, which again, they censored. And then he tried to get back at their good graces. He said, guys, I didn't say I didn't like deep dish. Calm down. And he told Joe, you know what? You've got yourself a deal. So they shook on it, but MJF held his hand and he pulled him in. And he told him wrestling MJF in Long Island is like copping head from an alligator. But looking at Joe these days, he imagines he doesn't have many options. And Joe told him, all this worrying that you've been doing about the devil, you don't have to worry anymore, he says, because as of today, you are my property. And he says nobody touches his property without his permission. So he's got MJF's back, and he's going to deliver the very best MJF at the Nassau Coliseum, and then he's going to beat him unconscious in front of his friends and family and anybody that he knows and loves. So Samoa Joe is great. Samoa Joe, even when Joe was getting hurt all the time in WWE, because the injury bug bit him a few times, the one thing that never wavered was when you put a live mic in his hand, he was the best in the entire company. Nobody could touch him. He was fantastic. Thankfully, here in AEW so far, he's been able to stay healthy. He's more physically active for them than he was for WWE. Now he's in the pay-per-view main event at the end of the year. So World's End, we already have our main event set. It's going to be MJF defending against Samoa Joe in a rematch from Grand Slam. And again, this makes at least 2, maybe 3 pay-per-views in a row where we have had our main event solidified weeks and weeks in advance. And it has given them an opportunity to really take their time in building to it instead of announcing it 2 weeks before. It's a trend that I hope continues, at least as far as their main events. You don't have to have the entire card, solid 3 weeks out, but your key matches, your key main event, you should be able to announce that far in advance if you have a picture of where you're going. So we've already got our main event, and we're still over a month away. We're 5 weeks out, from World's End. So I like that. That was the obvious match. I still think that there's a good chance we get the Devil reveal at World's End. I feel like even just the name of the show, the fact it's in MJF's hometown, it just feels like it's the end of the year. We're counting down, right? The final show of the year. It just feels like we're building to this show for the reveal of who the Devil is. Question is MJF going to benefit from this or not? Does the Devil show himself and end up ruining the match and ruining Joe's chances of winning? Or does that happen after the match is over? MJF just beats him again. They just want to use Joe for a second match and put MJF over, and then the big reveal comes. That I don't know. But I would not discount the possibility that Samoa Joe could walk into 2024 as the AEW World Champion. There's a reason why they took that Ring of Honor television title off of him. And it may not just be to get him the match with MJF. It's because they want that belt off of him because they have another belt in mind for him. And then MJF could always take the belt back from him a month later, 2 months later. I mean, they kind of did the same thing with the TNT title, and then they had Joe drop it to Darby. I think that was at the beginning of the year. Joe is something of I can't even call him a transitional champion if the belt were to just go back to MJF. That's not how you define a transitional champion, but kind of like a brief run to give MJF a mountain to climb and give him something to have to fight for to get his belt back wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But again, he's got a lot of irons in the fire, Wardlow being another one. I don't know if they want that belt off of him until it's time for him to drop it to whoever that heir apparent is going to be. I don't see the harm, though, if you want to give Joe a quick run and then have MJF get the belt back. I don't see the harm in that. Joe is fantastic. Joe would be a great champion. So here we are going into a main event where I don't mind either outcome, whether MJF retains or he loses. I think in either scenario, they're still in good hands, going into the new year. Now we had Orange Cassidy, we had Hook, and we had Katsuyori Shibata in a trios match against Jake Hager, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. Cassidy went to the floor and he grabbed the microphone to tell us that he had a Thanksgiving surprise for us. I guess this is what he was going to announce earlier before Renee told him that they were desperately out of time. And he informs us the big surprise turns out to be the return of Danhausen, who was hyped up even before Halloween, and then we never saw him. So something happened, and so Tony Khan decided to hold him out a little bit longer. Now it's Thanksgiving, and we got the return of Danhausen. Even though they were still playing on the Tron, the Halloween video, which was a takeoff on Halloween 3. If you know, you know. So they were playing that video. Then they played his music. Then he came out. He got a big pop. I don't want to say he got a bigger pop than MJF, but he got one of the biggest reactions on the show up to this point. Everybody was very happy to see Danhausen. He came down to the ring to be in the babyface corner. And for those who don't know, he tore his pec back at Revolution. He took a 310 to Yuma from the Guns. He tore his pec, and that's why he's been out ever since March. So this was his big return. Hook was isolated during a picture-in-picture break before finally hitting an overhead throw on Angelo Parker, and he made the tag to Orange Cassidy, who ran wild until Hager caught him with a takedown. Cassidy fought back with the Stun Dog Millionaire and tagged in Shibata, who went toe-to-toe with Hager, so we got a little back and forth between those two. Shibata fired off a pump kick. Hager mowed him down with a knee lift, and then he missed a corner splash. Shibata hit Hager. Lit him up, actually, with a series of chops. And then he hit the stalling drop kick to the face in the corner, which always looks great. Parker and Menard made the save, and the heels wanted a triple power bomb, but Danhausen got up on the apron, and he pulled out the old purple bucket hat, which we haven't seen in months. Used to be Hager's favorite hat. He put it on his head. And he cursed Jake Hager. Hager came outside to confront him, and he cursed him. He put a curse on Jake Hager. I, too, have cursed Jake Hager many times in the past as well. But this was the Danhausen curse that he put on Jake Hager. Hook and Shibata, meanwhile, slapped on dueling submissions, Red Rum, and a rear naked choke. And the heels tapped out. So Shibata, Hook, and Cassidy pick up the win. Good to see Danhausen back. Yeah, just some... one of my guilty pleasures on the show is Danhausen. Renee was talking to Adam Cole backstage when Roderick Strong rolled up with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett behind him. And he wanted to know where Cole was on Friday when Action Andretti dropped him on his head. Where were you? I mean, it was nice to see that you were at full gear on Saturday, but where were you on Friday when I almost died? And Cole yelled at him and asked him, when are you going to get it through your thick skull that I'm not your best friend anymore? And he told him to back off and leave me the hell alone before he hobbled away. So we have Roderick Strong in his wheelchair. We have Adam Cole in his walking boot and his crutches. We have MJF coming out with a pimp cane. It's the walking wounded in this company. Swerve Strickland, of course, took the worst beating of all on Saturday, and he came out with a little bit of tape on his shoulder. So he's holding up okay. And Roddy was left sitting there in his wheelchair looking very disappointed and very upset by Adam Cole snapping at him and saying the things that he said. If you did not see, I guess it would have been Collision on Friday, but if you didn't see it, there was a match between Roddy and Action Andretti, and there was a spot where Roddy got dropped on his head. And it was very scary. Thankfully, he's neck strong, so he was okay. But that almost went from storyline to reality in the blink of an eye. That almost became a shoot, the whole broken neck thing. He's very lucky that he came out of that unscathed. After a break, Christian Cage was out next for one of my favorite segments on the show tonight. Christian Cage is, of course, one of the best parts of the show. He's doing the best work of his career right now. What's not to like? So he was out next. But first, another classic sound-off break. He's going to be packed next week when he comes out on TV. He's going to be like AJ Styles on Raw this week. He's going to be bumping into shit. But they came out and they sang their song and, we're a couple of losers. We're going to get our asses handed to us because we suck. So Christian Cage, my God, the hair in that clip. That was in like the middle of like those early COVID days. I look back on that sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I let it get to that point. I know, man. Look at this. I can't get over it when I go back and I look at my hair in that. Jeez. Never again. You know what that was? That pay-per-view, I think, was in June. That was about 16 weeks of no haircut whatsoever. That's what happens after 16 weeks. Never again. Never again. So, after a break, Christian Cage comes to the ring with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. And they had promoted, coming into the show, that Christian would be rechristening them. He was going to rechristen Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. So Christian comes out, and he points out that he didn't lose at Full Gear. And he points out that Nick Wayne did not lose at Full Gear. So then he walks over to Luchasaurus, and he says, Luchasaurus is the one who lost their match at Full Gear. And he said that was unacceptable. He said he went home and he thought about how to get rid of the stench of losing, and then it hit him. It hit him like a ton of bricks. He said that since Wayne and Luchasaurus are his children, it was time to recreate them in his image. So Cage told Luchasaurus to take a knee. And Luchasaurus stayed on his feet. Cage told him again, take a knee. And Luchasaurus did not budge. Cage called him a moron and ordered him to take a knee, and then finally he did. Cage said the name Luchasaurus will forever be associated with being a loser. And he said that he came up with the name of strength and toughness because he considers Luchasaurus to be his finisher. And so he will forever, from this point forward, be known as Killswitch, which, of course, wasn't just Swerve Strickland's name in Lucha Underground. That's what Christian calls his finishing maneuver. So he is now Killswitch, which is actually a much better name than Luchasaurus. So then Christian called out Nick Wayne's name, and without hesitation, without even being asked to do so, Nick Wayne immediately takes a knee. And Christian tells him to get up, and he told him, you never get on your knees for another person, which is a good life lesson for all of you in the chat. Don't ever get on your knees for someone. I know you people. He called Nick Wayne the son that he never had. He called him his golden boy. He said, you are me. And he told him, I love you, Nick. You are a golden boy, and you will forever be known as the Prodigy. The Prodigy Nick Wayne. And the two of them hugged. Almost brought a tear to my eye. What a wonderfully touching moment between father and son here in this segment. All of a sudden, here comes Nick's mom, who has a name. I don't think I've ever identified her by name before this. Shayna. So Shayna is running to the ring. Christian called her a terrible mother. He said, sure, maybe you love Nick unconditionally. You gave him your unconditional love, but that's not good enough. He said you couldn't provide for him. You make $40,000 a year being a waitress. You think he wanted his mom to be a waitress? He says, look at me. I'm a legend. I'm a champion. I could give him the world. And then he said, in the most Christian way possible, he said it's a good thing that her husband is dead already, because Nick would have disowned him anyway when he realized that Buddy Wayne wasn't as good of a wrestler or a father as he is. He says it's a shame it came to this, because had she played her cards right, things may have been a little bit different. Then he said, go punch your card, because I think your shift is about to start at Denny's. He's so fantastically douchey. Like, he's so fucking good in this role. Go punch your card because your shift is about to start at Denny's. So then Killswitch got in Christian's face. And Christian told him to get on his knees. And he yelled at him again when he didn't do it. Get on your knees. Get on your knees now. And then he slapped Killswitch. The crowd chanted Luchasaurus. Christian told him to get on his knees or he would make him take that mask off. He would show the entire world why he wears it in the first place. So Luchasaurus, again, he did not get down on his knees. And so Christian slapped him across the face. And hold on a second. He slaps him across the no, he didn't slap. I think he slapped him, then he shoved him. But he shoved the dinosaur And he goes backwards and he hits Nick's mom. So he slams into Shayna, and Shayna goes down. Nick's mom takes a bump, and down she goes. So then Nick did not even make a move to check on his mom to see how she was. Christian told him to go outside, and so he did, and Nick Wayne goes under the ring, and he grabs a chair. And he puts the chair in the ring. He grabs a second chair and brings that into the ring as well. And Christian then hands the other chair to Luchasaurus, puts the first chair under his mom's head, hands the second chair to Luchasaurus, and wants him to bash this woman's brains in and give her a concerto. And Luchasaurus, he just can't bring himself to do it. He hesitates at first, and then finally, he picks the chair up above his head, and here comes Adam Copeland. His music hits. Of course, can't come out unless his music hits. So he hits the ring. He ducks the dinosaur. He spears Nick Wayne. Came face to face with Christian. Luchasaurus, though, pulls Christian out to safety. Copeland gave Nick Wayne another spear, and then he gave him an impaler DDT. And then he set Wayne up for a one-man concerto, and he smashed his skull as his mother watched on. She was sitting in the corner watching this. I thought she was going to throw her body on him. And then Copeland maybe would just hit her anyway. That's what Austin did to Lita when Lita covered up Matt Hardy, and they did that whole segment back in the day, which WWE would like to lock up in a vault, never to be seen again, I'm sure. But did it right in front of the kid's mom. Just smashed his head. That has me wondering, after this segment was over, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, it has me wondering if we're going to get Nick Wayne's mom going heel soon. If maybe she'll take Christian up on his offer of, if you played your cards right, things might have been a little bit different. Maybe she'll get a little bit tired of punching the clock at Denny's and she'll want to, be with a real man. Maybe she'll end up with Christian. And then Nick Wayne can have his mom with him as his chaperone in this group wherever they go. But I wonder if that's where this may possibly end up going. This was a strong segment. It further cemented Christian as the fantastic douchebag that he is. And oh, is he a fantastic douchebag. There's none better in the entire business right now than this guy right here. The way that he abuses Luchasaurus, the way that he manipulates Nick Wayne, not a single redeeming quality about this man. Not one. He doesn't come out there and try to get a pop. He doesn't come out there and try to be cool. His goal, his sole intent, is to go out there and get heat and get people to boo and hate his guts, no matter what he does, no matter what he says. Now, it is to the point, I think, where he's so good at what he does that there are people who would cheer for him and do get a kick out of what he does just because it's entertaining. But again, no redeeming qualities to this character whatsoever. The things he goes out there and says about this guy's, dead father and her dead husband. And look, when the time comes that it's going to be him and Copeland one-on-one and we get those, dueling promos from the two of them, I mean, Copeland, forget about it. I don't even think Edge even knew who his father was. So I'm sure Christian could have a field day with that one. But remember, Copeland warned him weeks ago. He warned him that in the end, he's going to end up alone. Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne are going to drop him. And so that's eventually where this is going to lead to. And then we'll get the inevitable Edge and Christian reunion, but that's for much later on. The first order of business is to get the first singles match between Copeland and Christian in an AEW ring. Now, they have a couple of shows coming up in Montreal. Their first shows ever in Montreal are coming up in 2 weeks, beginning of December. And I thought, weeks ago, I thought maybe they're going to do that first match on one of the Montreal shows, right? You take two Canadians, you put them in the ring together. But now that we're 2 weeks away, that's way too quick of a turnaround. I see it more as a World's End match. You could do the first match of World's End between them. It's a big deal, to get Edge and Christian in the ring together for the first time in a match against each other. I would save that for World's End. You got MJF and Samoa Joe. You put Copeland and Christian on there. That's two big matches right there on the show, plus the finals of the Continental Classic. And all of a sudden, World's End is shaping up to be a pretty big night. Speaking of the Continental Classic, we had our second gold match of the night, Gold League. It was Roosh one-on-one against Switchblade Jay White. White came to the ring with the guns, and they all acted shocked when the referee said, you got to go. Because nobody's allowed at ringside, no managers. That's why we didn't get Prince Nana with Swerve earlier in the night. You got to go. And they were shocked by this. Apparently nobody clued them in as to the rules of this tournament. Now, there was no Juice Robinson with them, and Juice was not at Full Gear on Saturday either. They shot an angle on TV last week where MJF attacked him. He supposedly hit him with a giant television monitor, screen, whatever it was. That was a cover for a real injury. Juice Robinson has a back injury that he needs back surgery for. And that sounds serious when you hear back surgery. Apparently, it's not so serious that it's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. I don't know what the nature of the surgery is on his back. It's good that it doesn't sound that serious, but, it's still back surgery, so he's going to be gone for a while. Now, we have not seen Roosh on Dynamite in a very long time. Now, if you're wondering how long has it been since we've seen Roosh on the show, you would have to go back to Dynamite all the way in May. Remember that match he had with Jungle Boy? Which got a lot of people talking about how unprofessional Roosh is, and he went into business for himself because he was kicking the shit out of Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy was the one going into the Four Pillars match at Double or Nothing, challenging for the world title. But it was by design. They wanted Jungle Boy to go in there and take a beating, and then in the end, he would pull out the win, which is what happened. But that's how far back you'd have to go. We've seen Roosh on Collision recently, but it's nice to finally get him back on Dynamite, which is still their primary #1 show. So it was nice to see him back on the show. Roosh hit an early shoulder block and a drop kick with Jay White on the ropes, which forced him to regroup outside. Sid says, back surgery from carrying Bullet Club Gold. Is that Jay White slander I hear? I like Jay White and Juice Robinson. So White goes outside to regroup. Roosh wanted to choke him with the TV cords. Paul Turner went over and put a stop to that and said, look, I'll disqualify you if you do that. So Roosh ended up winning a chop battle. We got a lot of that here in this match. He won a chop battle inside the ring. Then he hit a pump fake kick before shooting the LIJ pose, heading into commercial. Jay White took control during the break, but it was very short-lived. Roosh hit a flying forearm and 3 amigos for the near fall. Roosh took too long to follow up, and he missed the top rope senton, which led to a brainbuster by Jay White for a 2 count. Roosh hit a pump knee, then ran right into a Uranagi for 2. He chopped his way out of a Blade Runner attempt, and then he hit a snap German suplex, only for Jay White to catch a kick into a dragon screw. Rush. I was going to say he rushed. He rushed in. He was trying to rush in with bull's horns, but White avoided it, and then he looked for a Blade Runner again, nearly collided with the referee, and this allowed Jay White to hit a low blow, and then finally he nailed Blade Runner, and he picked up the win. 3 points for the Switchblade. This was a chop fest for a good part of it, and they beat the holy hell out of each other, these two. Damn good match here, I thought, between them. Again, I'm a little torn between this and the main event as far as which was the best tournament match of the night. I probably would give it to the main event, but this one was a damn good match. And it was a nice rebound win for Jay White. He needed this win coming out of the loss. Everybody made such a big deal out of the loss to the one-legged man at Full Gear. And I didn't think it killed him as much as some people did, but he needed this win. He needed this win. It was the right move. He got the win. I'll tell you what else I like about this. And if you're a New Japan fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. The consistency of Jay White here in this round robin, having to cheat to win in the same way that he used to cheat to win in the G1. So I like that consistency there. Some things never change. Always looking for a way to get that upper hand, and he'll do whatever it takes to win. No different here. Fits his MO perfectly. And so Jay White gets his 3 points in the tournament. Now we got footage of Ricky Starks and Big Bill. They retained their AEW World Tag Team titles in a 4-way ladder match on Saturday at Full Gear. But we got footage of them after the show. They were on the dais with Tony Khan at the media scrum, and Chris Jericho walked in and had some words for them. It's going to be Jericho and Omega challenging them for the tag team titles very soon. Could be World's End. Then in the hallway, they attacked Jericho. Kenny wasn't there. For those who don't know, Kenny Omega's cat is sick. And so he didn't, as soon as the match was over and the show was over, he left the building to go home to be with his sick cat. So he wasn't there. Big Bill and Ricky Starks, they jumped Jericho. Jericho, in the match on Saturday, he suffered a gash on his arm on a spot with the steel steps. I think he got 10 stitches in his arm. So they attacked the injured arm. And they held the arm up against the wall. And I think it was Big Bill who shoved a production case, equipment case, into the arm. And they left Jericho laying. So again, we're going to be getting that tag team title match very soon. Jericho and Omega got the Young Bucks shot by beating them. And so they'll wrestle Ricky and Big Bill very soon.
And Ibushi just kept getting in the way of the Young Bucks and Kenny. I didn't like him. I didn't know anything about him, so I'm just getting used to these
so you're
people,
a mark.
and then this guy just comes in.
So you're a mark.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure, I'm a mark.
Okay.
I'm a mark.
That's okay.
I'm a no good mark.
You can admit that. That's fine. We got plenty of those in here. It's all good. It will be Sheamus one-on-one with... Who the fuck is that? What is... We got footage. You like that, right? That was one of those moments that I will never forget. That was the early days of Be the Booker. And I truly, in that moment, I blanked. I just did not realize at that moment that was No Way Jose. And I remember just looking at that guy thinking, I don't know who this is. I don't know who that is. So my apologies to No Way Jose. I mean, how dare me, right? He did so much during his time in WWE. How dare I forget who this man was? Anyway, Renee was on stage with RJ City, and they had a microphone stand. This was like an award ceremony here. This was one of my favorite parts of the entire show. Oh, Jacob Donnelly just sent a chill down my spine with a $25 Brie mode. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. What did I do to deserve that, huh? What did I ever do to you, Jacob? No, Jacob, thank you, man. Appreciate that very much. No way I forgot Jose. I think a lot of people forgot Jose. So, like I said, Renee is on stage with RJ City. And they pulled out an envelope. RJ pulled out an envelope to announce the winner of the AEW Women's World title. And they said, and the AEW Women's Championship goes to... And then they said her name at the exact same time in stereo. Timeless Toni Storm. Just like it was the Oscars. And they played her music and they cut to a shot. She was sitting in the front row in the crowd and Luther was with her and she got up. Oh, it's me. She couldn't believe it. And she comes out of the crowd and she's coming up the ramp and she almost tripped and she yelled at Luther. And Mariah May brought out the AEW Women's title brought out the AEW Women's title to present to Toni Storm. Toni said that it was embarrassing because she didn't have anything prepared. She was caught off guard here. And then she put on her reading glasses and she pulled out a sheet of paper. And she thanked Mr. Anthony Khan and the people at Warner Discovery, especially Jack Warner, who's been dead for 45 years. So they started to play her off. They started playing her music. She goes, I'm not done yet. She thanked the little Toni Storms out there who want to be me. She said, this is her spot. You will not take it, and you will not make it. And if you'll notice, behind her, Mariah May had a very, well, shall we say, disenfranchised look on her face. This seemed to bother Mariah May. So you can see where that story is going. And Storm told all the kids to stay in school. Mariah May went back to smiling and applauded once her speech was over. Then Sky Blue's music interrupts, and out comes Sky Blue to march on down to the ring for the next match. And Toni Storm was highly insulted by this. So between the interruption there at the end by Sky Blue and then Sky Blue winning her next match, which came right after this, it's pretty clear what the match is going to be, probably for World's End. Toni Storm's first challenger looks to be Sky Blue for the AEW Women's World title. We'll see where the Mariah May story goes as far as how long it takes for them to get there. This is a story that should be playing out over much of the next year. There really is no reason for them to rush into anything with Mariah May and Toni Storm in the next few months. Like, they literally just introduced this woman on television in a backstage segment 2 weeks ago. So soon she'll start wrestling, and she can really kind of, buddy up to Toni Storm even more. She could wrestle matches on her behalf, right? Which was the idea that I had, but that will help prolong things for a while. And then you can eventually do the match, but there's no need to rush into it. And then you still have Jamie Hayter waiting in the wings whenever she comes back, right? She's going to probably want her belt back. So there's a few different things that Toni Storm can be doing in the first half of 2024 as we get a very entertaining segment out of it tonight. I enjoyed this. I love the gimmick. If you don't like this gimmick, if you think it's too campy and too goofy, you're not going to like this. This is not going to be for everybody, but I love it because it's just different than what you would not have seen something like this in the early days of AEW. And there are a lot of things that we would have seen in the early days of Dynamite that I wish they would maybe get back to. But there's also things that I don't think Tony Khan would have done because it wasn't in his comfort zone, or it would have been perceived as it's too WWE, it's too sports entertainment, right? But it's okay to have some stuff like that on the show. And Toni Storm she's knocking it out of the park. Like, she has embraced this role. She's thrown herself into this. And I just think it's just fantastic. It's great. And I'm so happy that she broke away from the Outcasts. You see Saraya and Ruby Soho in this very next segment, in fact. Right? They were out there. And it's like they're still doing the Outcasts thing. And it's so played out. I'm like, thank God Toni Storm branched away from this. Otherwise, she would be dragged down by it. Instead, she's broken away and she's doing her thing. And I think it's great. So we had Anna Jay, Ruby Soho, and Sky Blue in a triple threat match. Saraya was out there in Ruby's corner. Angelo Parker and Matt Menard were out there as well with Anna Jay, because they've been running an angle, though, on Rampage. Mostly on Rampage. Where there's a little thing going on between Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho. Little something going on there. Have a little feeling for each other. So Sky Blue set up for an early move on the apron. Parker grabbed her foot, which allowed Anna Jay to knock her off the apron. Excalibur noted that there are no disqualifications in three-way matches. Ruby ended up at ringside. She traded smiles with Angelo Parker, and Saraya and Menard, both of them were not very happy. It's like two parents that don't want their kids dating, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. All right, let's put our brains together and figure out how we can squash this. And they pulled them apart. Back inside, Blue hit a crossbody block from the ropes onto both opponents. Blue went for Code Blue on Anna, but Anna hooked her arms and slammed her face first to the mat. Anna had the pin. Parker broke it up. Menard grabbed Soho's foot from the floor to stop her from running the ropes. Saraya then yelled at Matt Menard, and Ruby got knocked off the apron into the waiting arms of Angelo Parker. And the two of them smiled at each other. They were very happy. Saraya pulled Ruby away and scolded her. In the ring, though, Sky Blue avoided Anna's Queen Slayer and super kicked her, and then followed up with a cutter and got the pin because Ruby was late in trying to break it up. And Saraya and Ruby continued to argue as they went to the back. Anna Jay looked annoyed by Angelo Parker. This was more about Ruby and Angelo than anything else that was really happening during this match. It does give Sky Blue a win, right? She was not victorious on Saturday at Full Gear in the TBS title match. Julia Hart is the new TBS champion. But it gives her a win in her hometown. They were in Chicago. That's her hometown. And again, it looks like she'll probably end up being Toni Storm's first opponent. Toni Storm needs somebody to beat. Why not Sky Blue? So that's where that looks to be going. But the thing with the Angelo Parker, Ruby Soho stuff is it's the first time their angle has gotten any kind of play on Wednesday, which is the main show. This is a Rampage angle. So I'm sure you have a number of people who are watching this and they haven't been following it. They haven't been keeping up with what's going on with Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho. And so they may not know what's going on. But it's a Rampage angle that for one night anyway migrated over to Dynamite. Renee approached Wardlow backstage, who happened to just be standing there. He was doing curls with a piece of equipment. I do that all the time. Randomly during the day, I'd be doing my notes here and trying to figure out what are we going to cover on the sound off this week, and I'll just randomly pick up a piece of furniture and start curling it. I mean, come on, what we do here, right? Solomonster has to get his pump on somehow. So he's curling this piece of equipment, and she asks, what are you waiting for when it comes to getting revenge on MJF? And Wardlow said the world doesn't revolve around MJF, and the downfall of the devil will be on his time. AR Fox showed up and said Wardlow was putting the blame on everybody else. And Wardlow said he doesn't need advice from anybody, and he dropped Fox with a headbutt. Because who the fuck is AR Fox to walk up to Wardlow and start giving him advice? The guy's a loser. When was the last match he won? The hell is Wardlow going to take advice from this guy for? If he was on a 10-match winning streak, okay, I could see that. Wardlow could certainly use something. He's not going to be taking advice from AR Fox. The main event was the third and final Gold League match of the Continental Classic here tonight. First time ever. One-on-one. Jon Moxley and Mark Briscoe. They traded strikes early with Briscoe firing off some redneck kung fu. Led to a drop kick through the ropes to Moxley on the floor, and that followed by a Briscoe blockbuster off the apron. So Moxley avoided a froggy bow after this, and then he booted Briscoe off the apron to the floor, which took us into the final picture-in-picture. During the break, Moxley busted Briscoe open and said, damn, it should have been me. Briscoe battled back with an enziguri and a thrust chop. Moxley exploded out of the corner, ran into an overhead Briscoe throw. Moxley countered a neck breaker into a choke. He transitioned into an arm breaker, but Briscoe got the ropes. Moxley cut off Briscoe in the ropes. Briscoe bit Moxley and then dove right into a kick to the gut and a paradigm shift, which Briscoe no-sold into a drop kick. Both men were down. Briscoe connected on a rolling Death Valley driver, and then he hit the froggy bow. Only got a 2 count out of it. Briscoe decked Moxley with a lariat. He wanted a J Driller, but Moxley hit a King Kong lariat and followed that with a Death Rider, and Mark Briscoe kicked out. And at that point, the crowd came alive because they wanted to see Mark Briscoe do the impossible and pick up a win over the nearly unbeatable Jon Moxley. Now, Jon Moxley lost to Orange Cassidy on Saturday, but if you look at his career at AEW, his win-loss record over the last 2 years, it's pretty fucking good. So they wanted to see Mark Briscoe pick up the upset win, which is what this would have been. This would have been an upset win. So they're rallying behind Mark Briscoe. Moxley hits a half and half. Briscoe rolls to his feet, gets into a forearm battle. Moxley cut the momentum off, though, with a curb stomp and another Death Rider, and he got the pin. And he picks up the 3 points. Moxley then, after the match was over, showed respect. Both men shook hands. And Moxley celebrated, and that took us off the air. So the Continental Classic standings now coming out of this show look like this. 3 points go to Swerve Strickland, Switchblade Jay White, and Jon Moxley. Jay Lethal, Roosh, and Mark Briscoe get no points. And that is where we are. I stand by what I said at the beginning. I think Mark Briscoe should have won. I think this was a mistake by Tony Khan. I think you want to set the tone early in a tournament like this. You want people to think, okay, maybe there will be some upsets in this tournament. Not many people would have picked Mark Briscoe to beat Jon Moxley in the main event of this show. Doesn't hurt Jon Moxley in the least. If anything, it puts him behind. Now he's got to work that much harder to rack up points if he wants to try to get to the finals. So I think that was a mistake. I think the other outcomes were predictable and they were fine. I think Swerve winning was fine. I think Jay White winning was the right choice. But I think Moxley should have taken the loss in this match. If Jon Moxley can lose to fucking Toru Yano years ago in New Japan, he can lose to Mark Briscoe here in the main event of this tournament on Dynamite. That was a mistake. Now, because of the holiday weekend, Rampage is being bumped. Rampage is being bumped to Saturday at 7 o'clock, which means there's a 3-hour block of AEW on Saturday, most of which is going to be head-to-head with Survivor Series. This will not end well for AEW. It does not usually end well when they're up against the WWE pay-per-view. This will be no different, but not much they can do. That's just the nature of the schedule, the way it falls. Now, Rampage and Collision this Saturday. We have Daniel Garcia against Claudio Castagnoli in the Continental Classic Blue League match. Eddie Kingston one-on-one with Brody King. That's the other Continental Classic Blue League match. Take a look at the Twitter poll. Dynamite so far clocking in with a 72% score. Thumbs up. And 27.7% thumbs down. Of course, you can vote, as always, on Twitter at Solomonster. That is where you can go. Do not slap leg when kicking. So, in fact, there's your confirmation. They have to put signs up to remind people. This apparently is such an epidemic problem in WWE. They have to actually tape signs to the wall to let people know, do not slap when kicking. Now, if you're someone like this woman, if you're a celebrity walking around in the back or a non-wrestler and you walk by and see that, what the fuck must you be thinking when you see that sign? You should grow a beard, Solomonster. No, I don't think so. Don't think so. That don't work for me. All right, let's take a look at your super chats here. Get them on in, because I'm going to zip on through this right now. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Well, 800 plus here with me on Thanksgiving Eve. I love it. Thank you for spending part of your holiday with me. Let's kick things off here with Steve Joseph, who dropped a 5 spot and said, Solomonster, Hall and Oates. No. Did you hear the story about the restraint? Yes, I did. I think it's only one restraining order. I believe it's from Hall. I think Daryl Hall is the one who filed the restraining order against John Oates. Yes, I'm devastated. I'm going to be sitting vigil, lighting candles, do a little prayer circle, hoping they get back together and they resolve their issues. You know, they're getting older. Daryl Hall doesn't look it, but he's like 80 years old. I mean, he's getting up there. Like, I hate hearing stuff like this. I hate hearing this. Brother Fluff Salisbury, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. Do you think that we will get the team of Van Damhausen at least once in AEW? Yeah, maybe. Why not? They'll pay RVD. I'm sure he'll come in and do whatever they want him to do. Lady Fire Panda with the $20. Hey, Fire Panda, thank you again for those gifted memberships. Between Fire Panda and Silver Tower alone, we are getting back closer to where we were previously, so keep it up. Who would you trust more to tell the truth if your life depended on it, Vince McMahon or Hulk Hogan? Vince McMahon. Daddy Ball says, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Lakers Pat says, do the Prince Nana dance. I did all my dancing in that opening intro. Well danced out. Maybe I'll do the Prince Nana dance at House of Glory next week when he comes in with Swerve. Maybe I'll do it there. John Doe 34. I'm tired of seeing Ring of Honor titles and mentions on AEW programming. And number 2, I want to see Solomonster against Tyrus at All In Wembley. You couldn't pay me enough. Although all I would have to do really is just outrun him, and eventually he'll just get so winded that he'll collapse, and then I can just cover him and pin him. Paul Carpenter, Hall versus Oates. I can't go for that. Nick Grasso. I really like the Christian Cage segment after what Adam Copeland did. Do you see Mama Wayne turning heel? I believe I do. I believe I do. Why do we keep seeing her? Why would she come out here, right? Unless this was leading to something. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the initial Adam Copeland Christian Cage match, and actually Nick Wayne's mom factors into it in some way, because she had to sit in the corner and watch her son get brutalized by this man. That right there could be the impetus behind her costing Copeland a win against Christian. I think that's where this is going. Oh boy, look who just showed up. Look who just showed up and gifted 50 more channel memberships. If I had the bat signal right now, I would be shining it. It is Silver Tower. Look at all of these new members. Mission Impossible reviews, you could also buy a membership. I'm just saying. But yeah, these are random. I Am Batman is now a member. I just mentioned the bat signal, and look at this. We have a new member, I Am Batman. Could not have timed that any better. We got a lot of new GWO members. Throw up the sign. Welcome them on in. Rojo Bear says, Swerve is my pick to win the Continental Classic and is the more logical choice. I would agree. Again, I would prefer that he focus his sights on the world title. I don't see that happening if he's going to be running around with the Triple Crown, defending it in different places. But if he's not in the world title mix, you know, again, in their world title plans in the near future, then it should be him. You've got to keep the momentum going. You have to capitalize on these two big wins somehow. And this would be the likeliest way for them to do that. Plus, it gets him in a big match at World's End. If it's Danielson and Swerve, which is what I would have as the final, that's a hell of a match. And he's got 2 straight wins over Hangman Page. Now imagine him going in there and getting a win over Bryan Danielson, who's turning around, I think less than a week later. He's going to the Tokyo Dome to wrestle Okada. And you have Swerve beat Danielson at World's End. That'd be huge for him. Huge. Huge. Silver Tower says, on my commute home, yeet. Well, apparently Silver Tower just got home, I guess. Maybe he just walked in the door and gifted 50 more. Hey, Silver Tower, thank you. Domination Warrior, would you whoop that trick or swerve when you drive? I definitely don't swerve when I drive, but I've been on the road with other people who do. I know Jeff Hardy certainly has. I would whoop that trick. That's what I would be doing. You're not going to catch me swerving. Base Beer says, woo energy is in that mug. You got me. You just figured out what's in this mug. We got mushrooms galore in here. Of course, they're functional. They're functional. They're not psychedelic. Or are they? Nick Grasso with the 1999. After tonight, I am more convinced than ever that Adam Cole is the devil. Right before the lights went out, Cole reached into his pocket. There you go. There you go. Into his pocket to trigger the Tron. See, I disagree with you on that last point, though. I do think the injury is serious. I do think he's going to be out for a while. He could be the devil. They're going to do everything in their power to prolong it. But see, I told you. He had his hand in his pocket. And unless he was playing pocket pool, I think there was a reason for that. It would explain why that video came up at that exact moment. Brandon Walker, thank you very much. It's a very kind comment of you. Appreciate that. I posted a video on my Twitter and on Facebook. Video I put together a few years ago after my mother passed away. Because I've digitized all of, we have family VHS tapes and old birthday parties and stuff. And I bought an Elgato video capture card years ago, and I've used it to convert a lot of things, but I've converted all the family stuff and put together a video, and I post it every year. It always brings a smile to my face. So that's up there if you didn't see it, if you want to take a look at that. Peter Quartieri says, Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Jessica Herman with the $5 super chat. Happy Turkey Day. This show is a thumbs up simply for the return of the very nice, very evil Danhausen. Love that Danhausen. Yeah, Danhausen is one of those, either love the guy or you hate his guts. I don't think there's any in between. You fall into one camp over the other. Or you fall into Nia's hole. And then there's no getting out. It's like a black hole. Once you fall in, that's it. You're done. Plus Ultra Adrian with the $10 super chat. Sorry I haven't been here in a while. I wanted to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you are able to have all the noodle pudding that you can eat. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. And I will be having my my kugel, as it's called, my noodle pudding. Yes, indeed. I'm very much looking forward to having that tomorrow. I'm going to gorge. I'm going to skip lunch, by the way. I'm going to fast between breakfast and dinner because I just know I'm going to stuff myself. I'm not going to be able to close my belt. It's awful. It's so disgusting. But I'm going to enjoy myself. I hope you do too. Deontay Soigné. Where are we, by the way, on the likes for Be the Book? Oh, we're at 350. Not looking good. I thought we were going to get, a nice little Thanksgiving Eve edition of Be the Booker, but it's not looking good. Deontay Soigné, happy Thanksgiving Solo. All love, my friend. Thank you for always being funny and knowledgeable. Sky Blue won a match, so my celebration starts early. There you go. There you go. Now you can celebrate and have a drink with your cake. Sean D with the $5 says, but what if you need to suck something? Can we get on our knees then? What are we supposed to do then? Lie on our backs? I think not. Hey, whatever you do in your home is your business. Some people are more flexible than others. Some people can do it upside down. I wouldn't know. But hey, you do you. I'm just saying, don't ever let anybody tell you to get on your knees unless you want to. Arabian Night, Swerve against Jay White. First time ever will be awesome. Roberto Benet, 2023. I'm not even a Christian fan, and this is the best work he has ever done. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jacob Donnelly, Bree mode has been activated. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, it wouldn't be Thanksgiving, I guess, without Bree mode. Thank you, Jacob. Have a very happy Turkey Day. Dylan Hensley with the $10 super chat. Big news from AAPW. We struck a deal with Roku. So our shows will soon reach a bigger audience and cement us as a major league promotion in Texas. Looks like I joined AAPW at the right time. Well, congratulations. Let me know when it's on there and if you are ever on there. How cool would it be? Dylan's been checking in with us for months. At wrestling school, letting us know like what he's been learning and drills and all kinds of stuff that he's been doing. And how cool would it be if one day we'll be able to put Roku on and there he is, coming off the top rope. That's awesome. Arabian Night, hope Joe wins. He has not been a world champion since 2008. Yeah, that's criminal. That's criminal. Absolutely criminal. Wildbird, I want to drop by and say happy Thanksgiving to you, Solomonster. Enjoyed the delicious turkey, the stuffing, and the pecan pie. Wildbird, you have been pardoned. I would think that Thanksgiving is probably your least favorite holiday. Kind of scary, right? Well, I've officially pardoned you, so you're safe. Rizzo, I'm sorry about Hall & Oates. Happy Thanksgiving to you and the rest of the chat, and also go Lions. Base Beerus says buy or sell. Miz beating Cena at WrestleMania or Warrior beating Hogan at WrestleMania? Warrior beating Hogan. Are you comparing the two matches? Are you drunk? Also, buy or sell Dingo Warrior or Miz 2006? I didn't watch Dingo Warrior, so I didn't have World Class. I wasn't watching him before he came to WWE, so I'll go Miz 06, although I don't really care for either one. Shout outs to Silver Tower, Fire Panda, Groovy Goose, Dr. Scorpio, GWO, and everybody else. Happy Thanksgiving. Same to you. And Reek Gotti. And you do again with the Prince Nana dance. You're asking me if I can do it? I can't. I can't do it like Nana does. I've tried. I failed. It's totally uncool when I do it. When he does it, it's just spot on. I feel like I would be soiling it if I even attempted to do it. Sean D. Does the NXT title not count as a world title? According to WWE, I don't believe it does, no. I don't believe so. And I don't think the WWE counts Charlotte's NXT title runs as part of her total. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. But I didn't think they counted them as part of her overall total. So I would say no, but again, some people might. Bliss fan, Friendship Frog died 3 years ago today. Only you would know that. That's an incredible piece of trivia. I had completely forgotten about Friendship Frog. And the fact that you know that Friendship Frog died 3 years ago to this day is incredible to me. I feel like if Bliss fan was ever on a wrestling version of Jeopardy and they had a Bray Wyatt or Alexa Bliss category, he would run the board. I mean, it wouldn't even, like, nobody else on that stage would have a chance. Like, they wouldn't be able to get their thumb on the buzzer quick enough. He would just wipe out the entire category. But I don't know if he would be able to answer any of the other questions. Like, I could see him going 0 for 60, like Becky Lynch did apparently on Celebrity Jeopardy. But if they had that category, he would smoke everybody on stage. Base Beerus, God of Seduction, with the 1992. Gobbledygooker is the 5th member at Survivor Series. Can you do the Prince Nana dance? No, I can't.
With a tear in my eye.
There it is. I've already explained I can't. I don't know how. It's terrible. I try to do it. I look like Carlton from the Fresh Prince. You know, I was dancing to, what was it, Tom? Oh my goodness. Tom. Oh God, what was the name of the song he used to dance to? Oh my goodness. Hey, Near, good to hear from you, man. He says he is safe. Happy Thanksgiving. Same to you, man. Please stay safe. I'm very happy that you chimed in. Who else we got? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody here. Boney says, I should take Hall and Oates out of Be the Booker since legally they can't work together. You know, that's true. I might have to consider doing that. Tom Jones, thank you. Fuck, that was annoying me. Tom Jones. I almost said Tom Petty. I go, no, it wasn't Tom Petty. And Rumple Maine says, man, I'm drunk off the rip. He's drunk off the rip. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's Thanksgiving, man. Drink up. And Arabian Night. Could you see Camille signing with WWE when her deal ends next month with the NWA. WWE could be getting her and Julia soon. Also, Roosh is underrated. Yeah, Camille apparently is going to be a free agent very soon. I don't see her going to WWE. I think WWE has enough right now. I mean, she's a powerhouse, right? Well, they just signed one in Jade. I think that Camille ends up with Impact. I think Camille ends up in the Knockouts division and then maybe eventually in AEW. I think there's a better chance of that happening. Rumpelmane says maybe TK is the devil. I ran that down as a possibility when the whole clip is on YouTube about who the hell is the devil. And I ran down all the possibilities of who it could be. Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Jack Perry. We put Dolph Ziggler. And then I said, what if Tony Khan was the devil? How terrible, how awful would that be? Right? I just kind of threw the name out there as a possibility. That would be awful. That would be awful. The Winston slip. Forgetting the name of TJ. That's not unusual. Again, I knew it was Tom something. I couldn't. It was right there, and I just couldn't figure it out. And Andre Israel wants to send a very happy Thanksgiving shout out to the entire Green World Order that we have here in our chat. So, happy Thanksgiving to the GWO. Let me make sure that I have nailed all of the super chats, and I believe I am all caught up. Base Beer says Bray once killed Rambling Rabbit. That was a dark promo. Oh yeah, he murdered him with the hammer, right? With that giant hammer. I remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of very disturbing shit that came out of some of those Firefly Funhouse promo segments. All right, so we are all caught up. Very good. Well, thank you guys. Matt Riddle cut his hair. Matt Riddle cut his hair. Is there a picture of this? Well, hey, you know, sometimes you change things up a little bit. It's not the worst thing in the world that you could be doing. I mean, case in point, you saw that COVID hair from the classic clip that I played earlier, right? To go from that to this, it's a big improvement. Big improvement. All right, I am told that we have just hit 403 on the like. Why did it take this long? You disappoint me. This is it. Right here. This is all you need. Boom. Thumbs up. It's not that hard. You disappoint me. But we got there. We got there. So that's all that matters. We got there. So let's go ahead and be the booker before we get on out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
One more round of Be the Booker here, Thanksgiving edition, before we head into the holiday. And we will kick things off here with a tag team match. You guys know how this works. We start with the tag match. We book a women's match. We book a singles match. That way we cover all of our bases. Cover all the bases. And we begin with the North. We just picked them the other day. Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. Perfectly capable tag team, but we already picked them just a few days ago. It's going to be the North. Didn't we just book this exact match the other day? It's a great match, don't get me wrong, but I thought we booked this exact match the other day. The American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards against the North. I think we booked our first rematch here on Be the Booker. I'm morphing into Vince McMahon now. It's going to be a series of rematches on Be the Booker. I don't want this to turn into Rematch-a-mania. I'm trying to book some unique matches here. Come on now. Still, though, gets the bell. So we're off to a good start. All right, here we go. Ladies, Be the Booker. We begin with Timeless Toni Storm. Yes. The reigning AEW Women's World Champion. Look at this. She's timeless. Timeless Toni Storm. And Rhea Ripley. Whew. I need a minute. What a match. What a match. Rhea Ripley and timeless Toni Storm. So, the reigning AEW Women's World Champion against the reigning World Heavyweight Champion on Monday Night Raw. How's that? How's that for a match, right? You want to book a women's match? There you go. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And now on the men's side, we begin with Batista, the Animal, Dave Batista. And Dave Batista is going to be going one-on-one. We should get a drum roll for this. There we go. Dave Batista, one-on-one with Al Snow. You know, the same Al Snow who once said, famously, the only good wrestling matches are the ones that drew money. To which one fan replied and said, by that logic, could you say that you yourself have never had a good match in your entire career? Still the sickest burn that I have ever heard. Batista against Al Snow and Head. See, the thing about Head is, Head can't get on her knees because she's got no legs. Anyway, we almost did it. We almost went for a clean sweep, but unfortunately we fell just a little bit short. 2 out of 3 is not terrible. 2 out of 3 is very good. But Batista against Al Snow is definitely not the match I was looking to book in my main event. Rumpelmane. Rumpelmane, just your super chat just disappeared. The chat is moving way too fast. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Here we go. Well, we'll get to you in a second. Dr. Bropio. Dr. Bropio. What if the devil is evil and his torture oh no, don't even joke about that. Don't even joke about that. The House of Torture, evil. That would be from the Sixth Circle of Hell. No. It's not evil. Can't be. It can't be. It can't be. Dr. Bropio, thank you. Rumpelmane says, timeless against mommy. I need to go change my pants now. Control yourself. Control yourself. You disgust me. You know that? You disgust me. You know, they have a pill for that sort of thing. That whole premature, you know. You can get some help for that, you know. They have prescriptions they can write for you. Oh my goodness, it is Silver Tower. Gobble, gobble, he says. We're having a party here on the street. We're Barry Horowitz. Oh my goodness.
Too sweet to be sour. It's Silver Tower.
Oh my goodness. Silver Tower on Thanksgiving Eve has come in with a $289 super chat. Well, actually, $289.30 to be exact. I guess that's the exchange rate here. Fucking A. Silver Tower, man. That, the gifted memberships. I can't say enough good things about Silver Tower. Doesn't mean I won't try. But, man, Knocking me on my heels here, man. Thank you very much, Silver Tower. You are the king. I don't know what else to say, man. I take the crown. I put the crown on your head. Here it is. You get the crown. Hopefully it's not too heavy. Right? Silver Tower, I wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful to have you with me here on these streams each and every week. Rumpelmane says, I disgust, says the man who screams Bukkake. That wasn't me. That was Abu Sika, for the record. You make it sound like I just randomly blurted it out during the stream. Although I will say the first time I ever heard Rey Mysterio's music, his current theme music, I did think it kind of sounded like that. Now it says Booyaka Booyaka. I thought it was like Bukkake Bukkake. Like that's a very different song. If Rey Mysterio were to come out to that song, instead of Booyaka Booyaka, he comes out as like Bukkake Bukkake. I'm like, I don't know what kind of gimmick this guy is trying here. I don't think I want to know. That's a whole other ball of wax right there. Libido Bell says, got a girlfriend and lost her in a span of 3 weeks. Don't date your coworker. She broke up with me and is more upset than I am. No, wait. She broke up with me and is more upset than I am. The diss track I made didn't help. Well, you did learn a very valuable lesson, I will say. That is good advice, not to date your coworker. Not that people have not had success dating their coworker before, but generally speaking, it probably is not a good move. But I'm very sorry to hear that. That sucks. The only thing I could say is it happened in the span of 3 weeks, so look, that's not a long time. Believe me, you're going to end up doing a lot better than her. Her loss, that's right. Her loss. 3 weeks, shake it off. Shake it off and move on. That's the best advice I can give you. And by the way, in 3 weeks, girlfriend, I don't know. I don't know if I would use that word. 3 weeks, it's more like a mutual acquaintance. You got to go a little bit longer before you can say, all right, we're officially in a relationship. Is it really a relationship, though, after 3 weeks? I am intrigued by the idea, though, that there is a diss track. I'm not going to lie. I would like to hear that. Yeah, it's especially bad if you work in an office that's smaller. I feel like if you work for a big company, you have like hundreds of employees or multiple offices. Not that it makes it any better, but that's different. But if you work in a small office, you're taking a real risk, right? Things go wrong. It's just very awkward. Now you got to go in. You got to see them every day. It's like, oh my God. You know, who needs that? Who needs that? Just not a good idea. Hoffman says a month equals a relationship. Yeah, I think a month. A month sounds about right. Even a month, though. Yeah, I don't know. Even a month seems a little short, but I can live with that. I can live with a month. If you work in different departments, it could work. Yeah, like I said, I mean, if it's a small office where you have to come in and see that person every day, if it's the girl at the front desk, and you come into the office every single day and the first face you see is her face, like, it's fucking terrible. You're going to come into work every day and you're going to have to see each other, and it's going to be so awkward and it's going to be so uncomfortable if it didn't end right. So it's like, don't even take the chance. But if you work at a different department, yeah, all right, whatever. Doesn't go right? All right, I'll go from, men's pants to women's bras or whatever. If you work like in a department store, let's say, right? I work at the jewelry counter at Macy's, right? Me and the girl that I work with, we got drunk one night. I went back to her place, yada, yada, yada. It didn't work out. Now I have to come to work and see her. Fuck it. I'm going to go work in the glasswares department, right? There's always ways around it. But if you're in an office and you have like 5 people in the office, you're fucked. You better start sending your resume out. Who needs to deal with that? Met my wife working together at Walmart, but understand because my ex-worker is there too. Walmart's a big place, though. My God, like one Walmart is like 2 different worlds, you know? You could work on one side of the Walmart, and then the other one works on the other side. You never even have to see each other. Is Cloverfield the best monster movie? It's definitely one of my favorites. I know some people aren't a big fan of it. Some people might go old school, you know, Godzilla. I was never a Godzilla guy, honestly. I'm a Cloverfield guy. And I believe that they're working on a proper sequel now. So that has me very excited. Now that the strike is over, hopefully we'll hear something about it soon. It's awkward, though, because at one point my wife was my ex's boss. It's dangerous. That's what that is. I met Santino Marella and his daughter, Ariana Grace, from NXT today. They were really cool. Didn't know she was his kid. Yeah, oh no, he talks about her all the time. I heard about her even before she signed with WWE. I think she was training. He had a school. I think maybe she was training there, but I think she's been in some pageants, like beauty pageants and stuff. She's a beautiful girl. But yeah, no, he talks her up a lot. So I knew that. I knew that for a while. By the way, we have reached the AMA portion of the stream. So before we wrap up, if you got questions, lay them on me. I'll see you rapid fire. I'll see if I can answer them here before we get out of here. We'll have some fun. Libido Bell tweeted the song for you. Okay, so Libido Bell tweeted the diss track to me. I wish I could play it, but I probably legally, right? Music. Can't play it on here, so I will check that out after, though. The girl from Scream got fired, so there's no more Sam. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, what's her name? Jenna Ortega, I think. Or so what happened there? I think one got fired, another one walked off. The studios basically destroyed the movie. They're not going to get Neve Campbell back. She basically told them to fuck off after the last one, right? Something about the pay scale or something. I'd be shocked if they convinced her to come back. They basically just screwed over the entire franchise now. So good job there. Idiots. Base Beerus says Dominic should shave his head. Are you kidding me? He's got that wonderful mullet going on. You got to save that for a hair match at WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio against Dominic, hair against mask. The only thing is, it's going to be Mysterio and Escobar probably at WrestleMania. So I don't know when they do Rey and Dominic again. Maybe at WrestleMania 41. By then, his hair will be down to his fucking ass, this guy. Can't believe how long it is. Mandy Rose says that she's returning to wrestling in 2024. What kind of wrestling though? She didn't specify. It could be mud wrestling. I look just like my grandfather. I've had a lot of people tell me that. Yeah, there's a picture in that video I put up on my Twitter. The video I did for my mom for her birthday. And there is a photo in there of my mother with her father, my grandfather. And no, I've had a lot of people tell me I look just like him. I wish I had more memories with him. My brother has none because when my grandfather passed away, my gosh, when my grandfather passed away, My brother was 6 months old. I was 5, so I have some memories with him. But he passed away in '87. He was only 55. So I wish I had more time with him, more memories with him. Unfortunately, though, I don't. Will Roman be at Survivor Series? No. No, he will not. Did they fix the messed up ceiling? They did. And we had our first big downpour overnight. A lot of rain in New York, and it held up. So, knock on wood, hopefully it stays that way. Steve, thank you. Congratulations, he says, on 16 years. Well, you've become a very big part of that, so I must thank you as well. But I appreciate that. Shout out to Steve Mello. Base Beers, what are you getting for Black Friday? A toaster. I don't need a toaster. I had a toaster oven. It burned out. Now I have an air fryer. My first air fryer 6 months ago changed my world. Can't believe I didn't have one of these things. I don't know what I'm probably getting nothing for Black Friday. Probably nothing. Does my brother watch wrestling? He does. Not as much as he used to. But, yeah, he still pays attention to it. Is the bukkake soundbite going on the pod? It's not going on the podcast, but I do have an idea for a super chat, so watch out for that. That may become the new $69 super chat very soon. Stay tuned. Does House of Glory travel to different states? I'm not too familiar with how other companies work. At the moment, home base is the NYC Arena, which is in Queens, New York. But it's funny you mentioned that. All I will say to you is stay tuned in 2024. It's going to be an interesting year. Wapatapa says, the Royal Solomonster pants is clean your heinous. I have no idea what that means. Wapatapa, you are confusing me. Yeah, the air fryer is amazing. Heinous anus, says Base Beerus. You guys are weird. Hog should come to Jersey. Why? What's in Jersey? Who from House of Glory do I think can make it big in WWE or AEW? I think there's a lot of people. We have our tag team champions right now are Jay Lyon and Midas Black. They're a team called Main Event. MANE, Main Event. And they're great. They're fantastic. The people love them. I think they could absolutely get over on television. I would keep an eye out for those guys. And they work other independents as well, not just House of Glory. As much as I hate the guy, I hate his fucking guts. Charles Mason, look, you can't deny the talent there. And I think that it's very, very likely that we'll see him on television somewhere at some point, which would be good because then gets away from me. I won't have to deal with him anymore. But I have to give the devil his due. He's very talented. Look, there's a reason why he's been our Crown Jewel champion for 18 months. Nobody's been able to stop him. We'll see if that changes next Friday, because next Friday is our final show of the year. No SmackDown that night, although SmackDown is in Brooklyn. We're competing against SmackDown. SmackDown's in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, and we're running a show that night. So we've got Swerve Strickland against Speedball Mike Bailey on that show. It's one of our main events. That's kind of a big deal. And the grizzled young veterans are making their first stop in House of Glory, and Mike Santana is challenging Matt Cardona for our world title, and it's going to be a big night. It's going to be a very big night. I think Gringo Loco is coming. Retro KOH with the super chat coming in says, your new pickup line as the commissioner. Hey, ladies, do you want to come see my hog? Well, then you're going to be awfully upset when there's no stream when I'm arrested for sexual harassment and I'm locked up. Can't stream from the pokey. Now, can I? Don't get good Wi-Fi in there. Base Beerus, will we ever see Solomonster in a Texas death match in Hog? You will not see me or have me book one. I'd book one, but you're not going to see me in a Texas death match. Do you want to see my hog? Oh my God! Yeah, you go walk up to the wrong woman who was out with her boyfriend and watch what happens. He'll get knifed for making a comment like that. Andre, I agree. Some of you people are absolute freaks. They say the freaks come out at night though, so there is something to that. Can I fit a laptop in my prison pocket? No, I don't think so. Juan, you know what? Neither one of those things are going to happen. I can't say there's a more likely scenario that one over the other happens. We're not getting either one of those things. If David Benoit was going to wrestle, he would have wrestled somewhere by now. The fact that he hasn't wrestled means he's not that interested. Yeah, Power Spine. I'm glad you brought that up because I totally whiffed and forgot to mention it. I'm going to be obviously tomorrow is Thanksgiving, which is usually a night off on the channel anyway, but obviously it's a holiday, and so that's tomorrow. On Friday is SmackDown. I will be live after SmackDown, and then I will be live again on Saturday night because we have Survivor Series, War Games, and the return of Randy Orton and not CM Punk. So that will be on Saturday night. And we're doing a Wrestle Rumble contest. Go to WrestleRumble.com. You got to take a look at this. Macho Man Legacy belt. This thing is a monstrosity. One person is going to be able to win that belt, but you got to get in on the contest. So that's on Saturday. And so we have the podcast on Sunday. That's episode 836. And then Raw Monday night. And then Dynamite next Wednesday. And that takes us into the month of December. So a lot of streaming, a lot of content coming your way. We're not done yet here. We're celebrating 16 years of the Sound Off all month long. Paul Carpenter says, is Hog on Fight? Happy Turkey Day. We used to be on Fight. We are now on Premier Streaming Network. So if you go to premierstreamingnetwork.com, you can sign up there. And you can get access to our shows. Base Beerus match of the year so far, MJF against Bryan in the Iron Man match. It's on my list. I have not narrowed my list down yet. I have about 30 plus matches on my list, and I'm going to try to narrow it down to either 10 or 15, which is always the hardest part. The hard part is not coming up with what matches I think fit the criteria for match of the year. It's always trying to narrow it down. That's always the toughest part. But as you know, at the end of every year, I do my countdown of the best matches, and then the week after that, I do predictions for the following year. So you will have to wait to find out what my match of the year is. I'm not going to give it away here. But is that match on the list, the bigger, broader list? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the greatest Iron Man matches, if not the greatest Iron Man match of all time. Is Nia playing with her hole again? That's the second time she has screamed about her hole. AJ Allegiant. Commenting late, as a Canadian, Christian represents us wholly and utterly, and everything he says embodies our national spirit. Well, I may have to move to Canada. Start having Canadian bacon over regular bacon. Canadian bacon is great, by the way. Base Beer says, get Christian on Hog. Oh, my God. I would love to. Silver Tower. If you show ladies your hog, you can be part of the next speaking out movement. Yeah, I think I'd rather not. Then I would have to do a story on the podcast about myself, which would be kind of weird. Thank you, Silver Tower. Oh, there's the TNA Super Chat. There's Sting. It's one of my favorites. Oh, I love that one. This channel got sexual fat. You must be new here. You make it sound like it only just now got sexual. You must be a newbie. Canadian bacon is just ham. I love ham. What's not to like? It's like a miniature slice of ham. I love it. I love it. Every time I go to a diner or whatever, and if I get some kind of a breakfast meal, pancakes, I'll get bacon. Half the time I get regular bacon, half the time I get Canadian bacon. Delish. Will Velveteen Dream ever get another shot, or is he done for good? He's done. He's done. Lucky STRB. No, Lucky STRB. It's an 8. Lucky Straight. Look like a B. Says, thank you for the years of content. Thank you for being a fan. Base Beerus. Huffman says, you know what goes good with bacon? More bacon. I agree. I agree. 100%, wholeheartedly. Hey, the Juliet, thank you. Base Beerus has got a 1992 that should be popping up here any second. Flair had an emotional interview with Shannon Sharp. He gets tearful and discusses his son. Check it out. I will have to check that out. I did not see that. All right, good stuff. Just reading Justin over here. So thank you guys for hanging out with me here on Thanksgiving Eve. Very cool. Very good episode of Dynamite tonight. Good kickoff to the Continental Classic. Again, I think Mark Briscoe should have won in that main event, but we have more matches coming up on Saturday. I will not be watching any of them because I will be watching Survivor Series. So I will have to watch them later on. But come on back first on Friday. Before we even get to War Games, we got one episode left of SmackDown. And we'll see what Nick Aldis has up his sleeve. Maybe we'll find out what Nick Aldis was chatting with Adam Pearce about the other night on Raw when he showed up. If you missed all the other content on the channel, the Raw review from Monday night is up. There are clips up from episode 835 as well, including one on Will Ospreay and my take on the criticism in some circles of AEW signing only maybe the best wrestler in the world. Yeah. Let's rip it apart and criticize of all the signings. Let's rip that apart. But there's something not quite kosher with some of the criticism. So go check that out. Leave some comments. Let me know if you agree. And we'll come back and do it all over again on Friday. So until then, be well, stay safe, enjoy all the food. Gobble, gobble. And we will be live again on Friday night for the post-Thanksgiving episode of SmackDown. Take care, guys.